This question is called fair probability from an unfair coin. It says if you have an unfair coin which may bias towards either heads or tails at an unknown probability, can you generate even odds using this coin? So if you had like a fair coin, obviously you would say heads I win, tails you lose, right? Or heads I win, tails you win. Same thing. Nice. So, but since this coin is unfair, you can't do that. If you say heads I win or tails you win, if heads is more likely to occur, how is that a fair game? It's not. So what you can do is you can break it into two flips. You say, oh, we'll flip it twice. If some result happens, like some sequence, I win. But if some other sequence happens, you win. And then if you have, so let's break that down. So fair game, you would say like heads me, tails you. That's fair. But that's if probability of heads is 1/2 and probability of tails is 1/2. Now let's call in this unfair coin, we don't know what the probabilities are. The probability of, so an unfair, probability of heads, we'll call it PH, or we can call it like X. And probability of Y, probability of tails, we can call it Y. We don't know what these probabilities are. We just know they add up to 100. That's all we know. Yeah, X could be 99%, tails could be 1%. We don't know. So we can say, instead, so we can do a two flip sequence and say, okay, if it's, so now, okay, what if it's two flips, what could happen? It could be heads, heads, right? It could be heads, tails, or it could be tails, tails. It could be heads, tails, or it could be tails, heads. Okay, probability of heads, heads is X times X. The probability of tails, tails is Y times Y. The probability of heads, tails is X times Y. And the probability of tails, heads is Y times X. As you can see, in this case, the probability of heads, tails, and tails, heads are equal. So that makes it fair. We can say if I get, so in the unfair coin, we can say heads, tails is me, I win, and tails, heads is you win. Yeah, so in this case, we have a game with unfair coin that has equal probability for either of us winning. And we can, if it's heads, heads, or tails, tails, just flip again. Because those are unfair sequences. Yeah, that's the answer. You flip twice. One sequence I win, one sequence you win. Other two we just throw away.